Coming up.
Sometimes you can get shot 10 times and survive, and sometimes you can get shot 1 or 2 times and die. Oh, he just injected himself with a needle. Through clothing, not as sterile as you would want to be, but in the field you got to do what you got to do. Quick target down. Don't know what type of injury, but head injury for that gentleman. A lot of rapid fire. Some small blood splatter, which is common in these type of injuries. Hey everyone, Dr. Wagner, back at it again, this time in the studio. Today we're going to be looking at the healing animation scenes from the game Escape from Tarkov. Let's get after it. Oh yeah, check out this medical kit. Took out some sort of clips and popped something out of his body. Putting some medicine or bandages on it. Oh, we got a survival kit, okay. Got trauma shears. Use that for anything, cutting off clothes. You got Kelly clamps there for needles, and then you have a stapler to close down any kind of wound or laceration. Okay, we got a splint. Definitely use any different types of splints to be able to protect any limbs. Oh, he just injected himself with a needle. Through clothing, not as sterile as you would want to be with your alcohol swabs, but in the field you got to do what you got to do. And then you have a car first aid kit, wrapping in some bandages around him to heal up whatever wound he has. Looks like another ready pack of some sort of medical equipment. Oh, we got lots of med options, different labels, and you typically wouldn't throw a used needle out in the middle of nowhere, but every needle has its cap on it, which is good. Depending on what he needs, you're injecting it right into the soft tissue, basically injecting into muscle versus intravenously. You see this gentleman has got IV or needle forms of medications. You can inject it intramuscular or IM versus IV into a vein. In his situation, getting into a vein is pretty difficult. So some medications can be given IM, but the absorption and the variability of absorption can vary depending on how you inject it, how deep, and the tissue you're injecting it in. So sometimes the medications work really well and sometimes they don't work as well. Looks like a bottle of ibuprofen painkillers, so it's a type of NSAID that we use generically for any type of pain that somebody has, and it's an anti-inflammatory medication. Vaseline has multiple uses besides skin, chapped lips. It helps seal wounds. If you have a penetrating chest trauma, you can help seal a bandage with it to cause an occlusive dressing. Augmentin, it's a type of penicillin antibiotic for any type of bacterial infection. Now you got a regeneration stimulant. That'd be pretty cool if we had that in real life. Adrenaline, we use it as an epinephrine in allergic reactions or cardiac arrest. Then you have a stimulant. Could be anything that basically focuses you and gets your heart rate up. Morphine's a painkiller, also known as an opiate. We use the word narcotic every now and then, but that's more of a law enforcement phrase versus in medicine. It's derived from poppy plant, which is opium, morphine, heroin, fentanyl. They're all kind of the same class of medication.
Got one.
Quick target down. Don't know what type of injury, but head injury for that gentleman. Some small blood splatter, which is common in these type of injuries. Okay. Injury, looks like a chest shot or an abdominal shot, knocked the person down. Probably not an immediate kill shot. Probably need multiple shots to kill somebody, but again, that's combat. Multiple shots to take down the aggressive combatant. And what we know is sometimes you can get shot 10 times and survive, and sometimes you can get shot 1 or 2 times and die. So it all depends on what is actually hit and injured.
SKS is also dead now.
Shot somebody laying down on the ground. Looked side shot. Could have punctured lungs and gone through the heart. Can kill somebody that way. When you're laying on the side, you just have a bigger target, and then you can hit vital organs versus standing and hitting limbs. Oh, different type of scope. And obviously an explosion can cause dismemberment, and then it also can cause blunt force trauma, which can cause internal organ damage as well. Multiple shots, don't know if they're able to go through body armor, depending on the bullet. If you're hitting vital organs in the chest and the abdomen, it can cause severe damage and death. Alright, a lot of dead bodies. Far distance shots using a high caliber bullet can cause a lot of damage as the bullet goes in, depending on how it tumbles and falls and goes through the tissue and what organs and vasculature in their way. A lot of the shots in this game, you just basically see it hit and the person go down. There's no huge puffs of blood. You just see the combatants go down, which most likely in real life, that's what happens. You're not seeing big puffs of blood or squirting blood out.
He's down.
With all these people getting shot, they all don't die immediately. They might just be really incapacitated, and they need to get medics there to get them out of there and seal up their wounds. There's all different ways to treat wounds.
Shit. clutch.
Bullet
Sniper
wounds,
escalator.
you gotta see entrance, exit. You gotta see if you can patch things up. There's something called a tension pneumothorax that happens when you get shot in the chest. You can have bleeding vessels that need to be put pressure on. There are all different types of materials that we've come up with in the combat world, like quick clot. You basically stop bleeding immediately on scene, but you gotta get people out of there. And here we continue to see people getting shot. Sadly, a lot of this type of injuries also occur in the civilian world, and people are brought in bleeding out. As I said, you can get shot 10 times and survive, and get shot once and die. It all depends on where the injury occurred. Anybody who gets shot, we give a lot of painkillers, morphine, fentanyl. Basically, we want them to be comfortable while we're trying to figure out everybody's injuries. You give them IV fluids, and you also get tons of blood that you would give somebody if they're bleeding out. There's something called even a rapid infuser to get it in super fast. Even if you have to give a ton of other blood, you got to give blood products. If you're giving packed red blood cells, you need to give plasma and platelets and all the other components of the blood. Otherwise, it'll be too thin and you don't have any clotting factors. And depending on the weapon that they're choosing, the caliber of the bullet changes. So injuries are based on the bullet and the caliber and what's actually firing it. If it's something that's a lower velocity, so it doesn't have as much power, it could hit and tumble inside the body and not go very far, but cause a lot of damage just from going in different directions. Versus high velocity, very strong, fast bullet, basically can just pop right through front and back and cause all the damage. And then there's all different physics with it, having to do with the force and the pressure wave. A lot of times we'll see an entrance wound but won't see an exit wound, so you know that the bullet tumbled and went somewhere else in the body. You can get shot in the arm and end up in the chest or the abdomen, vice versa. A lot of times we leave the bullet inside the body because we'll cause more damage trying to take it out. Here you're getting shot at yourself too, so you always have to worry about yourself getting injured and what type of kits that you have, medications and bandages to be able to keep going in these settings. Yeah, there you go. So he's opening up his kit for healing. Probably got shot or injured depending on what bullets were flying past him. So there's all different types of bandages that we have. There's one that wrap up wounds to stop them from bleeding. We even have higher tech type of stuff where quick clot, basically a type of powder that you can put into a wound that will cause coagulation to get it to stop bleeding. Sometimes medics in the field can probably do some sort of cauterization, basically where you're burning small blood vessels to basically cause it to stop bleeding. Maybe not in a combat setting, but we can use different materials like even honey to help wounds heal faster. So there are many different things that we can use to help these type of injuries.
You too.
So it's got multiple medication options. There's multiple different things that you can have in there. Morphine for pain, epinephrine or adrenaline for stimulant. You can have atropine for mustard gas kind of exposures, sarin gas exposures. And I'm assuming with these people, or medics, so to speak, you might be able to have a suture and maybe fix yourself or sew wounds back together. Tough part is in these situations, they are potentially dirty wounds, so you might be sealing bacteria and things into the wound, but it's either bleed out and deal with the infection later versus bleed out and who cares if you get infected. Ooh, I don't think that's a survivable injury. Could be if you're wearing armor plating, I guess. But if you need some pain medication, this guy's got a whole kit. Alright, that was the review of the gameplay of the healing scenes from Escape from Tarkov. Adding the medications and the different medical kits adds to the complexity of the game, which was a lot of fun from a medical standpoint. If you want to see more videos like this, check it out on Gamology YouTube channel as well as Facebook. What did I say? DIY? Do it yourself. Cool. DIY. Okay. Oh. Cut the end.